My daughter Lily stood frozen at the kids' table, her face white as paper. My father's voice still echoed through the ballroom. Let's face it, some children are built for greatness, and some are just simple-minded. He was talking about my 12-year-old daughter. At his retirement celebration, in front of our entire extended family, business partners, and lifelong friends. My mother nodded in agreement, her hand resting on my nephew Jordan's shoulder like he was some kind of trophy. And maybe to them, he was the golden child, the brilliant one, the one worthy of their legacy. I watched Lily's hands tremble as she pushed back her chair. She didn't run. She didn't cry. She just sat there, staring at her untouched plate of food, trying to disappear into herself. That's when something inside me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a clean, cold break. Because I knew something my parents didn't. Something I discovered just 72 hours earlier. Something that would change everything. My name is Henry Carter. I'm 41 years old. And this is the story of how my parents spent 12 years writing off my daughter as a failure, how they publicly humiliated her at the biggest event of their lives, and how one single envelope turned their entire world upside down. But before I tell you what was in that envelope, before I tell you how I stood up in front of those 57 guests and destroyed my parents' perfect narrative, you need to understand how we got here. You need to know about the diagnosis that came when Lily was 6, the label that followed her everywhere, the comparisons that never stopped, the silent war that had been building in my family for over a decade. Because this isn't just about one party, one announcement, one moment of cruelty. This is about what happens when family members decide your child's worth before she's even had a chance to prove herself. This is about invisible disabilities that people refuse to understand. And this is about the day I finally had enough. Lily was born on a Tuesday morning in April, 7 pounds 3 ounces, with a full head of dark hair and eyes that seemed to take in everything. My wife Maria and I were terrified first-time parents, but Lily made it easy. She was a happy baby, curious, alert, always reaching for things, always trying to figure out how objects worked. By 18 months, she could stack blocks higher than any kid at her playgroup. By 2, she was obsessed with how things fit together, taking apart her toys just to put them back together. My parents were thrilled. She's got the Carter brain, my father would say proudly. He'd built a commercial real estate empire from nothing, and he saw himself in every grandchild. Well, every grandchild except Lily, eventually. My brother David's son Jordan was born 6 months after Lily. From the beginning, Jordan was different. He walked earlier, talked earlier. By 3 years old, he was reading simple words while Lily was still struggling to recognize letters. That's when the comparison started. Subtle at first. Jordan's really taking to his books, isn't he? My mother would observe at family dinners. Lily's more of a hands-on learner, Maria would respond, trying to keep it positive. But the subtext was clear. Jordan was the smart one. Lily was something else. When Lily started kindergarten, the teachers loved her. She was kind to other kids, creative during art time, focused during building activities. But when it came to reading and writing, she struggled. Letters looked like dancing shapes to her. Words seemed to rearrange themselves on the page. By first grade, the gap between Lily and her peers was obvious. While other kids were reading simple books, Lily couldn't make it through a single sentence without frustration. The school called us in for a conference. Her teacher, Miss Patterson, sat across from us with a folder full of Lily's work. Mr. and Mrs. Carter, Lily is a bright child in many ways. Her spatial reasoning is exceptional. Her problem-solving skills are advanced. But she's significantly behind in reading and writing. My stomach dropped. How far behind? She's reading at a pre-kindergarten level. And her writing? She reverses letters constantly. B's become D's. P's become Q's. We'd like to have her tested. The word hung in the air like a threat. Tested. Maria reached for my hand under the table. Tested for what? We believe Lily may have dyslexia. It's a learning difference that affects how the brain processes written language. It's actually quite common. Affects about 15 to 20% of the population. But we need a formal assessment to know for sure and to get her the right support. The assessment took 4 hours spread across 2 days. They tested Lily's reading, writing, spelling, phonological awareness, rapid naming, and about a dozen other things I didn't fully understand. When we got the results, the psychologist confirmed it. Severe dyslexia. She explained that Lily's brain was wired differently, that she would always have to work harder than other kids to read. That with the right intervention and support, she could absolutely succeed, but it would take time, specialized tutoring, and a lot of patience. I was processing this information, trying to figure out our next steps, when my mother called that evening. So, what did they say? Does Lily need glasses? No, Mom. She has dyslexia. It's a learning disability that affects reading and writing. Silence on the other end. Then, a learning disability? Henry, are you sure they tested her correctly? Maybe you should get a second opinion. I've never heard of anyone in our family having something like that. It's not uncommon, Mom. The specialist said it affects millions of kids. We're going to get her into specialized tutoring, work with the school to develop an IEP, an individualized education plan. An IEP? That sounds serious. Will she be in special education classes? The way she said special education made it sound like a prison sentence. She'll get extra support during certain parts of the day, but she's staying in her regular classroom for most subjects. Another pause. Well, I suppose we all have our challenges. Jordan just tested into the gifted program. Can you believe it? First grade, and they're already saying he's reading at a fourth grade level. That was the moment. The moment my parents decided who was worthy and who wasn't. From that point on, every family gathering became a Jordan appreciation event. My father would bring up Jordan's latest achievement before we'd even finished saying hello. Jordan scored in the 99th percentile on his standardized tests. Jordan's teacher wants to skip him ahead a grade. Jordan taught himself basic coding on this educational app. Meanwhile, Lily would sit quietly, working twice as hard as any other kid just to keep up with grade-level reading. We found an incredible reading specialist named Dr. Chun who worked with kids with dyslexia. 3 times a week, after school, Lily would go to Dr. Chen's office for an hour of intensive structured literacy instruction. It was expensive. Our insurance didn't cover it, but we made it work. Dr. Chen used a method called Orton-Gillingham, teaching Lily how to connect sounds to letters in a systematic way. Progress was slow, painfully slow. In 6 months, Lily moved up half a grade level in reading. Dr. Chen celebrated this like Lily had won the lottery. This is excellent progress, Henry. Kids with severe dyslexia often take years to catch up. Lily is working so hard. You should be incredibly proud. I was proud. Maria and I celebrated every tiny victory. Every new sight word Lily learned. Every book she finished, even if it took her 3 times longer than other kids. But my parents didn't see it that way. At Lily's 7th birthday party, Jordan was showing off his latest achievement. He'd won his school's Geography B and was going to compete at the district level. My father watched Jordan recite all 50 state capitals in alphabetical order, his face glowing with pride. Then he turned to Lily. What about you, Lily? What are you learning in school these days? Lily looked down at her plate. I'm reading a book about dolphins. Oh, what's it called? She told him. It was a 2nd grade level book. Lily was in 2nd grade, reading at exactly grade level after 18 months of intensive tutoring. It was a massive accomplishment. My father nodded slowly. That's nice, sweetheart. Then he turned back to Jordan. Tell your grandpa more about this Geography B. What happens at districts? I saw Lily's face fall. She wasn't stupid. She understood what was happening. That night, after the party, Lily asked Maria a question that still haunts me. Mom, why doesn't Grandpa think I'm smart? Maria and I had been careful never to compare Lily to Jordan, never to make her feel less than. But we couldn't control what my parents did. Maria sat down on Lily's bed. Grandpa loves you very much, honey. But he doesn't think I'm smart like Jordan. Lily, you are smart. You're brilliant in so many ways. You see things other people don't notice. You solve problems in creative ways. You have a beautiful heart. Smart comes in all different forms. But I can't read like Jordan. I can't do things as fast as him. I stood in the doorway, my heart breaking. Come here, Lily. She came over, and I knelt down to her eye level. Do you know what dyslexia is? She nodded. It's why reading is hard for me. That's right. Your brain is wired differently than Jordan's brain. But different doesn't mean worse. It means unique. Some of the most successful people in the world have dyslexia. Scientists, artists, business leaders, inventors. They see the world differently, and that's their superpower. But Grandpa doesn't think it's a superpower. I couldn't lie to her. No, Grandpa doesn't understand yet. But that's his problem, not yours. The next few years were hard. Lily continued with Dr. Chun 3 times a week, sometimes for when she was really struggling. She moved from 2nd grade reading level to 3rd grade to 4th. By 5th grade, she was reading at grade level, though it still took her longer than her peers, and she still had to work incredibly hard. But something else happened during those years. Lily discovered engineering. It started with Legos. She'd always loved building things, but around age 8, she became obsessed with how structures worked. She'd study bridges, buildings, towers. She'd build elaborate Lego creations and then intentionally try to make them collapse so she could understand their weak points. For her 9th birthday, I got her a robotics kit. Within a week, she'd built every model in the instruction book. Then she started designing her own. Maria found her in the garage one Saturday afternoon, surrounded by motors, gears, sensors, and wires, building something from scratch. "Lily, what are you making?" "A robot that can sort recycling. See, you put plastic in this bin, and the sensor detects it and moves it to the plastic pile. Then paper goes to the paper pile. Then metal to the metal pile. It reduces contamination in recycling streams." She was 9 years old. Maria called me out to the garage. I watched Lily explain her design, watched her demonstrate how the sensors worked, how she'd programmed the simple computer to make decisions. She still couldn't spell recycling without help, but she could build a functioning sorting robot from spare parts. That's when I realized something my parents never would. Lily's brain worked differently, yes, but it wasn't inferior. It was specialized. She thought in systems, in 3 dimensions, in cause and effect. Reading was hard for her because dyslexia made decoding written language difficult. But spatial reasoning, mechanical understanding, logical problem solving, these came to Lily as naturally as breathing. I started researching famous people with dyslexia, not just to make Lily feel better, but because I was genuinely curious. I found aerospace engineers, architects, inventors, surgeons, people whose brains worked exactly like Lily's. People who struggled with reading but could see solutions that no one else could see. I tried to share this with my parents. I really did. At a family dinner when Lily was 10, I brought my laptop and showed my father an article about a famous engineer with dyslexia who designed revolutionary water purification systems. "Dad, look at this. This woman has severe dyslexia, same as Lily. But she invented technology that's providing clean water to millions of people. Dyslexia doesn't limit what Lily can achieve." My father glanced at the screen for maybe 5 seconds. "That's interesting, Henry. Very inspiring. Jordan's applying to a special advanced mathematics program at the university. They only accept 10 kids a year from the entire state. His math teacher says he's the most talented student she's seen in 20 years. That was it. Every conversation about Lily got redirected to Jordan. Every achievement Lily had was met with polite disinterest, and then a story about Jordan's latest accomplishment. By the time Lily was 11, she'd stopped trying to impress my parents. She'd stopped sharing her projects at family dinners. She'd learned to make herself small and quiet, to fade into the background while Jordan shined. Maria and I encouraged her at home, celebrated her accomplishments privately, but I could see the toll it was taking. The messages Lily was receiving from my parents, whether they intended it or not, was clear. You're not as valuable. You're not as smart. You're not worth celebrating. Then last year, everything changed. Lily came home from school with a flyer. The National Junior Engineering Challenge. A competition for kids ages 10 to 14 to design and build a solution to a real-world problem. First prize was $10,000 and an invitation to present at the National Engineering Conference. Second and third place winners got scholarships and recognition. But more than the prizes, Lily was excited about the challenge itself. "Dad, I want to enter. I have an idea for a modular water filtration system that can be built using locally sourced materials in developing countries. Clean water is one of the biggest problems in the world, and most filtration systems are too expensive or require materials that aren't available everywhere. But what if we could design a system that used sand, gravel, and activated charcoal from local sources, with simple assembly instructions that didn't require reading complicated text?" I stared at my 11-year-old daughter. "Lily, that's brilliant. I've been researching different filtration methods. Biosand filters are good, but they're permanent and heavy. Ceramic filters are great, but they require specific materials and manufacturing. I want to design something modular, portable, and replicable using whatever materials are available in any given region. So the design would have core principles, but flexible materials." "How long have you been thinking about this?" "A few months. I watched these documentaries about water scarcity, and I keep thinking there has to be a better solution. We converted half the garage into Lily's workspace. She spent every afternoon after homework and tutoring working on her filtration system. She tested different combinations of filtering materials. She built prototype after prototype. She filled notebooks with sketches and calculations, her messy handwriting documenting every test, every failure, every adjustment. She had Maria help her with the written portions of the project because writing was still so difficult for her. But the ideas, the engineering, the problem-solving, that was all Lily. 5 months later, she submitted her project. A modular water filtration system using regionally adaptable materials with simplified visual assembly instructions that minimized the need for written literacy. Testing showed it removed 97% of contaminants and bacteria. The cost per unit was under $20 in materials. 2 months after submission, we got the call. Lily had placed second out of over 8,000 entries nationwide. She beat high school seniors. She beat kids from prestigious private schools with advanced science programs. My 11-year-old daughter with severe dyslexia had designed an award-winning engineering solution to a global problem. The prize ceremony was in Washington, D.C. We flew out as a family. Lily stood on stage in front of hundreds of people and presented her project using mostly visual slides because she designed the presentation to work with her strengths rather than her weaknesses. When she finished, the audience stood and applauded. A professor from Georgia Tech approached us afterward. "Mr. Carter, your daughter is remarkably talented. That kind of spatial reasoning and systems thinking at her age is extraordinary. You must be incredibly proud." I was. Maria was crying. Lily was glowing. When we got home, I called my parents. "Mom, Dad, I have amazing news. Lily just won second place in the National Junior Engineering Challenge. She competed against 8,000 kids and placed second. She designed this incredible water filtration system and presented it in Washington, D.C. My mother's response: "Oh, that's wonderful, Henry. Good for Lily. We're actually getting ready to go to Jordan's award ceremony right now. He's receiving the State Academic Excellence Award for maintaining a perfect GPA. The governor is presenting it personally. We're so proud." I felt something harden inside my chest. "Did you hear what I said, Mom? Lily won a national engineering competition." Yes, that's very nice. Listen, we have to run. We'll talk soon." They never asked for details. Never asked to see photos from the ceremony. Never acknowledged it again. Meanwhile, Jordan's Academic Excellence Award was framed and hung in their living room within a week. That's when I stopped expecting anything from my parents. Stopped hoping they'd see Lily for who she really was. But Lily continued. She always continued. She kept building, designing, creating. Her reading was improving steadily. By 6th grade, she was reading slightly above grade level, though it still required significantly more effort than it did for her peers. Her writing was getting better with assistive technology and continued support. But more importantly, her engineering skills were developing at an extraordinary pace. She started entering smaller competitions, science fairs, design challenges. She won some, placed in others. Her bedroom was filling up with medals and certificates. My parents noticed none of it. Then, 3 months ago, something incredible happened. Lily came home with an email printed out, her hands shaking. Dad, look at this." It was from Stanford University's pre-collegiate engineering program. They ran a highly selective summer intensive for exceptional young students interested in engineering. 60 kids from around the world, ages 12 to 15. The program had somehow seen Lily's work in various competitions. They were inviting her to apply. "Lily, do you understand what this means? Stanford is one of the top engineering schools in the world. Is it good? Is it? Lily, this is incredible. This is better than good." We worked on her application together. Lily designed a new project specifically for the application, a portable solar-powered water pump system for agricultural use in regions with limited electricity. She built a working prototype. She filmed a demonstration video. Maria helped her edit her written essay, but the ideas were purely Lily's. We submitted the application and then we waited. During this time, my parents announced they were planning a major event. My father's retirement celebration. After 45 years of building his commercial real estate empire, he was stepping back, and my brother David was taking over as CEO. They were planning a huge party. 200 guests. Live music. Catered dinner. Speeches. And they wanted to make a major announcement about their estate plan. My mother called me to discuss it. Henry, your father and I have been working with our estate attorney. We want to be transparent about our decisions. We're leaving the beach house to David since he'll be taking over the company. And we've established trust funds for both Jordan and Lily. Okay, that's generous of you, Mom. Jordan's trust will be $300,000. He's shown such extraordinary academic achievement, and we want to support his educational journey. Harvard is expensive, and we know he'll get in. And Lily? Well, we're setting aside $25,000 for Lily. That should help her get started in whatever career path she chooses. We're thinking something practical. Maybe a trade school? She's good with her hands. I was silent. I couldn't speak. $25,000 for Lily. $300,000 for Jordan. My mother continued, oblivious to my stunned silence. We know it's not equal, Henry, but we're trying to be fair based on each child's trajectory and needs. Jordan's future is clearly academic, and that requires significant financial support. Lily's path will be different. Simpler. And that's okay. Not every child is meant for traditional success. I found my voice. Mom, are you planning to announce this at the party? Yes. That's part of why we're making it such a big event. Your father wants everyone to know how proud he is of David and Jordan, and how we're setting up the next generation for success. It'll be a wonderful moment. I hung up and sat in my car for 20 minutes, just breathing. Maria found me there. Henry? What happened? I told her. She was furious. They're going to announce this publicly? In front of 200 people? In front of Lily? That's their plan. We can't let Lily go to this party. We can't let her sit there and hear herself being valued at less than 10% of what Jordan is worth. If we don't go, they'll make it about us being difficult. They'll say we're keeping Lily away because we're ashamed or something. So what do? I thought about it. Thought about years of dismissal, of comparisons, of watching my daughter be overlooked and undervalued by her own grandparents. We go. We let them make their announcement. And then I tell the truth. What truth? Everything they don't know about Lily. Everything they've missed because they stopped paying attention when she was diagnosed with dyslexia. That was 3 weeks ago. Last week, something else happened. An email came. Lily got into Stanford's summer program. Out of over 2,000 applicants worldwide, they accepted 60. Lily was one of them. The youngest student accepted that year. The email praised her innovative thinking, exceptional spatial reasoning, and creative problem solving. They specifically mentioned that her work showed the kind of unique perspective that drives real innovation in engineering. When I told Lily, she cried. Not sad tears. Joy. Pure joy. They think I'm smart, Dad. Like really smart. You are really smart, baby. You always have been. She looked at me with those same eyes that had watched my parents dismiss her year after year. Are you going to tell Grandma and Grandpa? I thought about it. Thought about the party that was now just 3 days away. Not yet. The day of the retirement party arrived. Maria dressed Lily in her favorite blue dress, the one that made her feel confident. In the car on the way there, Lily was quiet. You okay, sweetheart? I don't want to go, Dad. You know Jordan's going to talk about his achievements all night. And Grandma and Grandpa will make a big deal about it. And I'll just sit there like always. I know it's hard, but I need you to trust me, okay? Just for tonight. She nodded, but I could see the resignation in her eyes. She'd learned to expect nothing from these family events. Learned to make herself invisible to avoid the pain of being overlooked. The venue was spectacular. My parents had rented out an entire country club ballroom. Crystal chandeliers. Elaborate floral arrangements. A string quartet playing in the corner. 200 guests mingling with champagne glasses. My father stood near the entrance greeting people like the business mogul he was. My mother orchestrated everything with the precision of a military general. David and his wife Sarah arrived with Jordan, who was wearing a suit and already holding court with a group of my parents' business associates, probably discussing his academic achievements. Lily saw Jordan and her shoulders dropped. We found our table. Lily sat down, pulled out a small notebook she always carried, and started sketching. It was her coping mechanism. When the world got overwhelming, she drew buildings, bridges, structures. I watched my parents work the room. They stopped at every table, shook every hand, accepted every congratulation. When they got to our table, my mother kissed Lily on the cheek. You look lovely, darling. Are you excited for Grandpa's big night? Lily nodded politely. My father ruffled her hair like she was 6 instead of 12. There's a kids' table over there with Jordan and some of his friends. Why don't you go join them? Lily looked at me. I nodded. It's okay, Lily. Go ahead. She took her notebook and walked to the kids' table where Jordan was sitting with 3 other kids his age, all clearly from the same academic circles, all talking about debate competitions and science Olympiads. Lily sat at the end of the table and opened her notebook, disappearing into her drawings. The dinner was exactly what I expected. Speeches praising my father's business acumen. Toasts to David taking over the company. Stories about Jordan's brilliance that came up somehow in every third conversation. No one mentioned Lily. No one asked about her. She was background noise. After dinner came the main event. My father stood up, champagne glass in hand, and clinked it with a fork. The room fell silent. Thank you all for being here tonight. 45 years ago, I started Carter Real Estate with nothing but a dream and a willingness to outwork everyone else. Tonight, I'm stepping back, and I couldn't be prouder to hand the reins to my son David, who has proven himself more than capable of leading this company into the future. Applause filled the room. David stood and waved, humble but proud. My father continued, but tonight isn't just about the business. It's about family. It's about legacy. It's about the next generation. He gestured to Jordan and Lily at the kids' table. My stomach tightened. My wife and I have been blessed with 2 incredible grandchildren. And as we've been doing our estate planning, we've thought carefully about how to best support each of them. My mother stood up and joined my father at the front of the room. We want to announce tonight that we've established educational trust funds for both Jordan and Lily. Here it comes. Jordan has shown extraordinary academic promise. Perfect grades. Multiple academic awards. He's clearly headed for an elite university and a career that will require significant educational investment. So we're establishing a $300,000 trust fund to support his education and early career. The room erupted in applause. People stood up. Jordan looked embarrassed, but pleased. My father beamed with pride. I watched Lily at the kids' table. She'd stopped drawing. She was just staring at her notebook, her face expressionless. My mother continued once the applause died down. And of course, we love Lily just as much. We've established a $25,000 trust for her as well. That should help her get started in whatever path she chooses. Polite applause. Much quieter. Much shorter. Then my father said the words that detonated everything. Look, we're trying to be realistic here. We're trying to be fair to both kids based on who they are. Jordan is clearly exceptional. Academic. Destined for great things. We want to invest in that exceptional future. He looked toward the kids' table, toward Lily. Lily's a sweet girl. Kind. Creative. But let's be honest, she's always struggled academically. The reading issues, the learning disability, the extra help she needs. She's what we'd call simple-minded. Not in a bad way, he added quickly, as if that made it better. Just in a realistic way. She'll probably find happiness in a simpler life. Maybe something hands-on. A trade of some kind. She doesn't need a huge trust fund for that kind of future. What she needs is enough to get her started, and that's what we're providing. Simple-minded. My father had just called my 12-year-old daughter simple-minded in front of 200 people. The room was quiet. Uncomfortable. Some people were nodding like they understood his practical reasoning. Others looked uneasy. I looked at Lily. Her face had gone completely white. Her hands were shaking. She closed her notebook slowly, carefully, like she was moving underwater. Then she stood up. Not to run. Not to hide. She just stood there at the kids' table, tears starting to stream down her face, making no sound. That's when I moved. I stood up from our table. Maria grabbed my hand, squeezed it. I walked to the front of the room where my parents were still standing, still basking in the applause for their announcement. I picked up a champagne glass from a nearby table, tapped it with a fork. Loud. The room went silent. Everyone turned to look at me. My father looked annoyed. Henry, this really isn't the time for, oh, this is exactly the time. I kept my voice calm. Even. Steady. I have an announcement too. About Lily. About my daughter who you just called simple-minded in front of 200 people. My mother's face went red. Henry, we didn't mean it that way. You didn't mean it what way? You didn't mean to say she has a simple mind? Because that's exactly what you said. You said she struggled academically. You said she has learning disabilities. You said she needs extra help. You said she'll have a simpler life because she's simple-minded. The room was dead silent. I pulled out my phone, opened my photos, started projecting them on my phone for the people near me to see. Let me tell you what the simple-minded one did this year. Last spring, Lily entered the National Junior Engineering Challenge. 8,000 kids from across the country, ages 10 to 14. She designed a modular water filtration system using regionally adaptable materials. It removes 97% of contaminants. It costs under $20 to build. It can provide clean water in developing regions without requiring expensive imported materials or high literacy levels to assemble. I swiped to the next photo. She placed second, out of 8,000 entries. She beat high school seniors. She beat kids from elite private schools. She presented her work in Washington, D.C. to hundreds of engineers and scientists. People were murmuring. My parents looked stunned. I kept going. The simple-minded one has also competed in 6 other engineering and design competitions over the past 2 years. She's won 3, placed in the top 10 in the others. Her bedroom is full of medals and certificates that you've never seen because you've never asked to see them. I swiped to another photo. This is Lily's latest project, a portable solar-powered water pump system for agricultural use. She designed it, built it, tested it. It works. My father tried to speak. We didn't know about any of this. You didn't know because you stopped paying attention 12 years ago when she was diagnosed with dyslexia. You decided then that she was less than, that she was limited, that she was simple-minded. And you never questioned that assumption again. I looked around the room, at the business associates, at the family friends, at the people who'd just applauded my parents' unequal trust funds. Dyslexia is a learning difference. It affects reading and writing. It makes school harder, but it doesn't affect intelligence. Some of the most brilliant minds in history had dyslexia. Engineers, architects, surgeons, inventors, scientists. People who see the world differently and use that different perspective to solve problems no one else can solve. I pulled out the envelope, the one I'd been carrying in my jacket pocket, the one I'd been waiting for the right moment to reveal. 3 days ago, Lily received this letter. It's from Stanford University. I held it up so people could see the Stanford seal. The room got even quieter. Stanford runs a highly selective summer program for exceptional young engineers. Pre-collegiate engineering program. They accept 60 students worldwide, ages 12 to 15. 2,000 kids applied this year. I opened the envelope. Read directly from the letter. Dear Lily Carter, we are thrilled to offer you admission to Stanford's pre-collegiate engineering program. Your application demonstrated the kind of innovative thinking, exceptional spatial reasoning, and creative problem-solving that represents the future of engineering. We were particularly impressed by your work in water systems design and your ability to approach complex problems from unique perspectives. You are among the youngest students accepted this year, and we believe you have extraordinary potential. I looked up at my parents. Stanford University, one of the best engineering schools in the world. They think my simple-minded daughter has extraordinary potential. My father's face was ashen. My mother had tears running down her face. The room was completely silent. So here's what's going to happen. You can keep your trust funds. All of them. Both of them. Lily doesn't need your money. She's going to earn her own success. She's going to build her own future. And she's going to do it without you. I walked over to Lily. She was still standing at the kids' table, tears streaming down her face. But now she was looking at me with something like wonder. I held out my hand. Come on, baby. We're leaving. She took my hand. Maria was already standing, purse in hand. We walked toward the exit. My father's voice followed us. Henry, please. We made a mistake. We didn't understand. I stopped. Turned around. No, you didn't want to understand. You wanted easy categories. Smart grandchild. Simple-minded grandchild. Golden child. Disappointing child. You wanted to believe that Jordan is worth 12 times more than Lily because it fits your narrative about success and worth. My mother was openly crying now. We're sorry. We're so sorry. Please let us make this right. You want to make it right? Start by learning what dyslexia actually is. Not just reading a pamphlet. Actually learning. Understanding. Recognizing that Lily's brain works differently, but not worse. Different isn't deficient. I looked around the room one more time. Everyone here just witnessed you publicly humiliate a 12-year-old child. Your grandchild. You told 200 people that she's simple-minded, that she's worth $25,000 while her cousin is worth $300,000, that she'll have a simpler life because she's not as capable. I shook my head. The only simple minds in this room are the ones that can't see past a learning disability to recognize extraordinary talent. We left. Outside in the parking lot, Lily finally broke down. Maria held her while she sobbed. Why do they hate me, Dad? What did I do wrong? I knelt down in front of her. You didn't do anything wrong. You never did anything wrong. They're limited in their understanding. They see the world in a very narrow way. Success looks like one thing to them. Intelligence looks like one thing. And anything that doesn't fit that narrow definition gets dismissed. But I try so hard. I work harder than Jordan. I work harder than anyone. I know you do, baby. And that's part of what makes you extraordinary. You don't just rely on natural talent. You combine your natural gifts with incredible work ethic. That's a rare combination. She pulled back, looked at me with red eyes. Did you mean all that stuff you said? About Stanford thinking I'm talented? I pulled out the letter, handed it to her. She read it again, even though she'd already read it a dozen times. They really want me. They really want you. Because you're brilliant, Lily. Not in spite of your dyslexia. Maybe even partially because of it. Your brain works differently, and that different way of thinking helps you see engineering solutions that other people miss. Maria wiped Lily's tears. We're so proud of you, sweetheart. So incredibly proud. And we're sorry you had to hear those things tonight. Are we ever going to see Grandma and Grandpa again? I looked at Maria. We hadn't discussed this. I don't know, Lily. That depends on whether they're willing to really change. Really understand. Really apologize to you in a meaningful way. Do you think they will? I thought about my parents. About their rigid worldview. About the way they doubled down on their assessment of Lily year after year. I honestly don't know. We went home. Lily went straight to her room. Maria and I sat in the kitchen, processing. That was nuclear, Maria said. I know. Your parents are going to lose their minds. David's going to call. Your whole family is going to have opinions. Let them. Are you okay? I thought about it. About watching my daughter be publicly humiliated. About years of watching my parents overlook her accomplishments and minimize her potential. I should have done it sooner. I should have confronted them years ago. I let it go on too long. You were trying to maintain family peace. You were trying to protect Lily from conflict. I was protecting everyone except Lily. I let her think she had to earn their approval. That if she just achieved enough, tried hard enough, proved herself enough, they'd finally see her. But they were never going to see her. Their minds were made up. Maria reached across the table, took my hand. You saw her. You've always seen her. But she needed them to see her too. She needed her grandparents to believe in her. And they didn't. They don't. They might now. Maybe. But the damage is done. They called her simple-minded in front of 200 people. She's never going to forget that. I'm never going to forget that. My phone started ringing at midnight. My father. I declined the call. He called again. Declined. Text messages started coming. From my father, my mother, David, other family members. I turned my phone off. The next morning, my parents showed up at our house. I answered the door, but didn't invite them in. Henry, please. We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. My mother was still crying. Looked like she hadn't slept. We didn't know about Stanford. We didn't know about the competitions. We didn't know Lily was so accomplished. You would have known if you'd ever asked. If you'd ever shown interest in her life. If you'd ever treated her like she mattered. My father looked older than I'd ever seen him. Defeated. We were wrong. We made terrible assumptions. We let our own limited understanding of dyslexia cloud our judgment. You did more than that, Dad. You told her she was simple-minded. You told her she was worth less than Jordan. You told her this in front of hundreds of people, including kids her own age who heard their grandfather say she's not as valuable as her cousin. I know. And I would do anything to take it back. You can't take it back. You can't unsay those words. Lily will remember what you said for the rest of her life. That's the legacy you gave her at your retirement party. Congratulations. My mother stepped forward. Please let us see her. Let us apologize. No. Henry, she's 12 years old. She's been dismissed by you for 6 years. She's tried to make herself invisible at family events to avoid being compared to Jordan. She's heard you praise him for years while barely acknowledging her existence. And then last night, you called her simple-minded. You don't get access to her now just because you're embarrassed about what happened. My father's voice broke. She's our granddaughter. We love her. Do you? Because love requires seeing someone. Really seeing them. Understanding them. Celebrating who they actually are, not who you wish they were. You've never done that with Lily. We want to change. We want to learn. We want to make this right. I felt tired. So tired. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave. You're going to actually educate yourselves about dyslexia. Not a quick Google search. Real education. Read books. Watch documentaries. Talk to experts. Understand what it means, how it affects learning, how it doesn't affect intelligence or potential. We will, my mother said quickly. And then you're going to think about what you said, about what message you sent, about how your estate plan communicated Lily's worth compared to Jordan's. And you're going to decide if that's really what you believe. We'll revise the trust funds immediately. Make them equal. This isn't about the money. It's about what the money represented. Jordan is worth investing in because he's exceptional. Lily is worth 1/12 of that investment because she's simple-minded. That was your message. My father flinched. I didn't mean it that way. Yes, you did. You might not have meant to say it out loud, but you've been thinking it for years. The only difference is last night you said it in front of witnesses. They stood there on my doorstep, looking old and lost. When can we see her? My father asked. I don't know. When I trust that you won't hurt her again. When I believe you've actually changed your understanding. When Lily feels ready. Which might be months. Or years. Or never. Henry, please. You should go now. They left. I watched them walk to their car, watched them drive away. Inside, I found Lily in her room, headphones on, working on some new design in her engineering notebook. She looked up when I came in. Were those Grandma and Grandpa? Yes. What did they want? To apologize. To see you. What did you say? I said not yet. Not until they've actually changed. She nodded, went back to her notebook. Then she looked up again. Dad? Am I simple-minded? No, baby. You're one of the smartest people I've ever met. Your mind works differently than some people's minds, and that makes you see solutions and possibilities that other people miss. That's not simple. That's sophisticated. Stanford really thinks I'm talented? Stanford knows you're talented. They saw your work and recognized brilliance. Trust them. Trust yourself. She smiled a little. I'm going to work really hard at the summer program. I'm going to prove I deserve to be there. You already deserve to be there. That's why they accepted you. But yes, work hard. Keep building. Keep designing. Keep being exactly who you are. Over the next few weeks, my parents tried everything. They sent letters. They sent books they'd read about dyslexia. They sent articles about famous people with learning disabilities. They revised their estate plan, made the trust funds equal. They started going to therapy, both individually and as a couple, specifically to address their biases and assumptions. My mother started volunteering with a dyslexia advocacy organization. My father made a donation to establish a scholarship fund for students with learning disabilities. They were trying, really trying. But Lily wasn't ready. She read their letters with Maria's help. She acknowledged their efforts. But she wasn't ready to see them. I don't want to hear them say they're sorry, she told me one night. I want them to actually be different. And I won't know if they're different until enough time has passed. That's fair. That's completely fair. Do you think they'll ever really change? I think they're trying harder than I've ever seen them try at anything. But real change takes time. And even if they change, you don't owe them forgiveness just because they apologize. You get to decide what relationship you want with them, if any. She thought about that. I just want them to see me. The real me. Not the version they invented in their heads. Lily started at Stanford's summer program 6 weeks after the retirement party. We flew out with her, got her settled in the dorms. She was nervous. What if I'm not smart enough? What if everyone else is better than me? Lily, they accepted you because you're exactly smart enough. You belong here. Trust Stanford's judgment. They know talent when they see it. The program was 8 weeks. Lily called us every few days, always excited, always energized. She was working with professors, building advanced projects, collaborating with other talented young engineers. She was thriving. In week 3, she called with news. Dad, my advisor wants me to co-author a paper with her about accessible water filtration systems for low-resource settings. She says my designs could actually be implemented in real communities. Like, real people could use what I've created. I felt tears in my eyes. That's incredible, baby. She said I have a unique perspective. That my approach to design is different from traditional engineering education, and that difference is valuable. She said the best engineers are the ones who can think outside standard frameworks. She's right. That's what makes you special. Dad, yeah. I don't feel simple-minded anymore. I feel like I finally found a place where people understand how my brain works. Where being different is actually an advantage. When Lily came home after the 8 weeks, she was transformed. More confident. More sure of herself. More aware of her own strengths. She showed us her projects, her certificates, her letters of recommendation from Stanford professors. She'd already been invited to come back next summer, and she'd been contacted by 3 different universities about their engineering programs when she was old enough to apply. Maria and I were so proud we could barely speak. That evening, Lily came downstairs. "I think I'm ready to see Grandma and Grandpa." "Are you sure?" "I want to tell them about Stanford. I want them to understand what I did, and I want to see if they've actually changed." We arranged a meeting. Neutral territory. A quiet restaurant. Just my parents, Maria, Lily, and me. When we arrived, my parents stood up immediately. They looked nervous. Older. Humbler. They'd both aged in the 3 months since the retirement party. My mother started crying the moment she saw Lily. "Hi, Lily." Lily stood there, evaluating them. Then she said, "Hi, Grandma." "Hi, Grandpa." We sat down. Awkward silence. Then my father spoke. "Lily, I need to say something. What I said at the party was wrong. Not just wrong because it hurt you, although it did, and I'm sorry for that, but wrong because it was factually incorrect. You're not simple-minded. You never were. I made assumptions based on ignorance, and I let those assumptions dictate how I treated you." My mother added, "We've been learning about dyslexia, reading books, watching documentaries, talking to specialists. We understand now that it's a difference in how the brain processes language, not a deficit in intelligence. We understand that many brilliant people have dyslexia. We should have learned this years ago." Lily listened. Then she said, "Why didn't you?" "What do you mean?" my father asked. "Why didn't you learn about it when I was first diagnosed?" "I was 6. You've had 6 years to understand what dyslexia is. Why did you wait until you embarrassed yourself in front of 200 people?" My parents looked at each other. My father answered honestly, "Because we were arrogant. We thought we knew everything. We thought intelligence looked one way, achievement looked one way, success looked one way. We thought because Jordan fit our definition of success that he was inherently more valuable, more worthy of investment. We were wrong about that, and we're sorry." Lily pulled out her phone, showed them photos from Stanford, her projects, her team, her presentations. "I spent 8 weeks working with some of the smartest engineers in the world. They didn't think I was simple-minded. They thought I was talented. They want me to come back next summer. They want me to co-author a paper. They said I have a unique perspective that's valuable." My mother was crying openly now. "We're so proud of you, Lily. So incredibly proud. And we're so sorry we didn't see this earlier." Lily looked at them for a long moment. "I don't know if I can forgive you yet. What you said hurt. Really hurt. And it wasn't just one night. It was years of making me feel like I wasn't good enough. Like Jordan was the grandchild worth celebrating, and I was just there." "We know," my father said. "We know we can't take back those years. But we want to do better. We want to be better. We want to be grandparents you can be proud of. I don't need you to be grandparents I'm proud of. I need you to be grandparents who are proud of me. The real me. Not some version of me you wish existed. We are proud of you," my mother said. "The real you. The brilliant, creative, determined, extraordinary you." Lily thought about that. "Okay, we can try. But you don't get to just come back into my life like nothing happened. You have to earn it. You have to prove you've changed. And that's going to take time. However long it takes," my father said. "We'll wait however long it takes." We left the restaurant an hour later. In the car, Lily was quiet. "How do you feel?" Maria asked. "I don't know yet. I want to believe they've changed. But I'm scared they'll just go back to how they were before." "Then we take it slow," I said. "We let them prove themselves over time. And if they can't, if they revert back to their old patterns, then we'll make different decisions." "Okay, that sounds fair." Over the next year, my parents worked to rebuild their relationship with Lily. Slowly, carefully. They came to her science fair presentations. They asked about her projects. They celebrated her achievements. They treated her the way they'd always treated Jordan, with interest and pride and belief. Jordan, to his credit, was horrified when he found out what had happened at the retirement party. He called Lily, apologized for being blind to how my parents were treating her differently. He started including her more, asking about her engineering work, sharing his own academic interests in a way that was collaborative rather than competitive. Lily and Jordan actually became closer. The trust fund situation was resolved. My parents made them completely equal. But more importantly, they started investing time and attention in Lily, which was worth more than any amount of money. Last month, Lily applied for early admission to Stanford's undergraduate engineering program. She won't hear back until spring, but her application was strong. multiple recommendation letters from professors, a portfolio of projects, published work, awards, proof of exceptional talent. Whether she gets in or not, she knows her worth now. She knows she's brilliant. She knows her brain works differently, but not worse. She knows that different can be an advantage. This morning, Lily came downstairs with her newest design. A modular housing system for disaster relief that can be assembled quickly using minimal tools and locally sourced materials. She's entering it in an international competition. What do you think, Dad? I looked at the detailed drawings, the 3D models, the structural calculations. I think you're going to change the world, Lily. She smiled. That's the plan. My parents called later. They've started a foundation, the Lily Carter Foundation for Students with Learning Disabilities. They're funding tutoring programs, assistive technology, advocacy work. They're turning their shame into action. It doesn't erase what they said, doesn't erase the years of dismissal. But it's something. It's change. Real change. Tonight at dinner, Lily said something that made Maria and I both stop eating. You know what's funny? If I didn't have dyslexia, I might not have become an engineer. Because I couldn't rely on just reading and writing like other kids, I had to find different ways to learn. Visual ways. Hands-on ways. Building and testing and experimenting. And that's what made me good at engineering. The thing Grandma and Grandpa thought made me simple-minded is actually the thing that made me see problems differently. Maria reached across the table, took Lily's hand. That's incredibly insightful, sweetheart. Dr. Chun said something similar once. She said dyslexia isn't a limitation, it's a different operating system. Some brains run on one system, some run on another. Neither is better, just different. And sometimes the different system can do things the standard system can't. I thought about my parents at that retirement party, about their rigid definition of intelligence, success, and worth, about how they almost missed out on knowing their brilliant granddaughter because they couldn't see past a diagnosis to the person behind it. And I thought about all the other kids out there like Lily. Kids with dyslexia, with ADHD, with autism, with processing disorders, with any kind of neurodivergence. Kids who get labeled as simple-minded, slow, less than, because they don't fit a narrow definition of smart. Kids whose unique perspectives and different ways of thinking are treated as deficits instead of differences. Those kids need people who see them, really see them, who look past the struggles to recognize the strengths, who understand that different doesn't mean deficient, who celebrate the unique ways their brains work instead of trying to force them into standard molds. Lily didn't need my parents' validation to be brilliant. She was always brilliant. But she deserved their validation anyway. She deserved to be seen and celebrated by her own grandparents. Every kid does. The lesson isn't just about dyslexia. It's about assumptions. About deciding someone's worth based on limited information and rigid definitions. About giving up on people before they've had a chance to show you who they really are. My parents almost missed knowing their granddaughter. They almost destroyed their relationship with her over their own ignorance and arrogance. They're lucky Lily is generous enough to give them another chance. Some families don't get that second chance. Some kids hear their grandparents call them simple-minded, and that becomes the defining narrative of their childhood. They internalize it, believe it, let it limit their dreams and their sense of possibility. I'm grateful Lily had us to counter that narrative, to show her the truth, to celebrate her achievements even when no one else would, to fight for her when she needed fighting for. But I wish she'd never needed that fight. I wish my parents had seen her from the beginning, had understood that their grandson and granddaughter were both brilliant in different ways, had celebrated both without comparison or competition or cruel categorization. If you're reading this and you have kids in your life, biological or not, please see them. Really see them. Look past the struggles to recognize the strengths. Understand that intelligence comes in countless forms. That achievement isn't one size fits all. That different doesn't mean less. And if you've made mistakes like my parents made, if you've dismissed or underestimated or hurt a child with your assumptions, it's not too late to change, to learn, to apologize, to do better. My parents are proof that even deeply held biases can shift with genuine effort and humility. They're not perfect. They still stumble sometimes. But they're trying, really trying. And Lily sees that effort, even if she's not ready to fully trust it yet. That's enough for now. The trying is enough. Lily's upstairs right now working on her disaster relief housing project. Music playing. Engineering software running. Her dyslexic brain solving problems most people never think about. Simple-minded? No. Sophisticated. Complex. Brilliant. Extraordinary. And finally recognized as such. If there's one thing I hope people take from this story, it's this. Never write off a child because they learn differently. Never assume that struggle in one area means limitation in all areas. Never let a diagnosis define someone's potential, because the kid you're calling simple-minded might be the one who changes the world. She just needs someone to see her first. And if you're that kid, if you're reading this and you've been told you're not smart enough, not capable enough, not worthy of investment and belief, please know this. They're wrong. They're limited in their understanding. Their inability to see your brilliance doesn't mean your brilliance doesn't exist. It means they're looking through the wrong lens. Keep building. Keep creating. Keep pushing forward. Find your people, the ones who see you. And when you succeed, when you prove them wrong with your achievements and your talent and your unique perspective, be generous enough to give them a chance to change. Or don't. You don't owe anyone forgiveness. You get to decide who deserves space in your life. But never, ever let someone else's limited vision limit your own sense of possibility. You're not simple-minded. You're simply extraordinary. The world just needs to catch up to understanding that.